show about Jewish books, music, film, and web. I'm Heidi Estrin. The Book of Life is a podcast service of the Feldman Library at Congregation B'nai Israel in Boca Raton, Florida. Additional support comes from the Association of Jewish Libraries. I had a great time at the Podcasters Across Borders conference this summer in Kingston, Ontario, a gathering by podcasters for podcasters. The focus was on storytelling and creativity rather than on the technical aspects of audio, but the people I met were inspired and inspiring. I think I was the only podcaster there who focuses on Judaica, but I met many people who shared my interest in books and reading. One of those people was Hugh McGuire. Hugh is involved in many web projects and blogs about the intersection of technology, philosophy, and politics at hughmcguire.net. I talked to him about two of his book-related projects, LibriVox and Book Oven. Okay, so here we are at Podcasters Across Borders. So tell me who you are and then tell me what you do.
My name is Hugh McGuire, and I started a project called LibriVox in 2005, I guess. And I also have another project ongoing called Book Oven.
Book Oven?
Yes.
Okay, so explain what both of those are.
So LibriVox is a project to get volunteers from around the world to make audio recordings of public domain texts and give them away for free on the internet. And Book Oven is a project to use the same kind of ideas but around the making of books, so bringing writers together with editors and designers and proofreaders, etc., to get that process of making books in a sort of collaborative space online and out into the world.
So, okay, LibriVox sounds very straightforward. I understand that you're making audiobooks.
Yeah.
Book Oven, I'm not sure I understand quite as much. It sounds like bypassing the publishing companies in order to create books, or?
Yeah, it's part of that. It's so if you think of podcasting, it was the ability to make audio recordings and distribute them to the world, and so it meant that you didn't have to make audio for the radio anymore or get it from the radio, and I think a similar thing is happening with books, with ebooks and print on demand, so the ability people have now to make and distribute books, but the problem with books is that they're kind of complex things to make, and it takes a lot of people's input, and it's not just a writer sitting alone, so making an online space where that can all happen and then allow the books to go out into the world.
Are they physical books or they're ebooks, or how do you
ebooks
do it?
Or print on demand. So print on demand is a technology where one-off versions of books can be printed at reasonable cost.
Right. So and this is a free project for everybody involved?
It is, yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's I guess it's a web startup. We're not quite launched yet, but we're getting there. So
it's not actually active yet?
That's correct.
Okay. So you bring together the authors, whoever you need, authors, editors,
and whether
designers, illustrators.
That's the writers who are bringing in their team together, or also it could be a bigger community of people who find themselves through the site itself.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. That sounds like sort of a whole new wave in self-publishing.
I hope so. I think so the technologies exist now for anyone to publish books themselves, but as I say, the problem with making books is that they're complex things, and there's a lot of different types of expertise that goes into making a book. So having a space where those people can come together, I think, will give the access to transform at least part of the publishing industry.
Yeah, not to diss the people who currently make self-published books, but there's a wide variety of levels of success with that, and I guess because it's a job that one person shouldn't really have to do alone, and often that is what happens, and the book suffers.
That's right, and I think that's part of it, and the other thing is just the sort of networking community around the making of books, I think, is as important as the final product itself, and so giving a space where this kind of connections can be made around the creation of books, I think, will be important for fostering that kind of rich ecosystem around the making of books that I don't think self-published books quite get yet, because I think a lot of times they get published and they're sort of in alone in the universe. So finding a way to get the people who are interested in their creation together, I think will start a new kind of a new kind of thing, which will be a bit different than than self-publishing, which I think is is a bit of a lonely task right now. So.
Mm-hmm. So if people listening to this want to get involved in this at the ground level and become part of what you're creating, how can they find you?
Yeah, so it's bookoven.com. And I think, we're still closed, but if you send an email, the email information's on there, bookoven.com, and send me an email, and I'll give you an account, and you can play around a bit with what we've got.
Okay. Now back to LibriVox for a minute. How long has LibriVox been around? A while, right?
Yeah, so I guess it's going to be... it was August 2005, so I guess that's 3.5 years. Is that right? Yes.
And how many books have been recorded?
So our catalog is coming up to 2,500 titles. Some of those are shorter works, but so we put out about 60 to 100 books a month now.
Is that available as a podcast that you can just keep receiving books, or you just go and select the books that you want?
So we have a podcast that comes out 3 times a week. So that's just a selection of a book. And a podcast comes out 3 times a week of that particular book, but the collection now is so big that I think most people download just by
the titles they're
going through
interested
the
in.
catalog and selecting stuff they're interested in.
Okay, and that's all just volunteers who, out of the goodness of their hearts, would like to read aloud.
Yeah.
There's not like training and
No,
read aloud techniques, or do they all record on their own audio equipment also? So that is
mostly
variety among that.
Yeah, so it's let's say on the job training. The people get better, and there's a wide range of quality, but it goes from let's say the idiosyncratic to stuff that is as professional as anything else you would get in the world. There's some magnificent stuff on there, and some of the books have several different readers, and about half the collection are solo works. People have recorded the whole book themselves.
Mm-hmm. And what response have you had to LibriVox?
Yeah, it's great. We have I think we're the most prolific audiobook publisher in the world right now, which to me the most interesting thing is the creation of the audiobooks. I think that's the most powerful thing we do, and there's this really nice fringe benefit that the world gets access to free audiobooks. So we have millions of downloads, and our sort of most popular stuff gets downloaded a few thousand times a week.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been great.
What about the creation is it that fascinates you?
I think there's nothing more rewarding in life than creating something, and whether that's a bookshelf or a community or a piece of art. I think there's something beautiful about that, and then sharing that creation. So LibriVox to me was really interesting because it allowed people to really connect with something else that's very important to them, which is books that they care about, and find a way to create, using that source material, create something and share it with the world. And I think what's one of the things that I find fascinating about LibriVox is just the richness of people's voices and the humanity that's behind it, and that sense of closeness of someone really telling you a story. And so there's a lot of different things going on, but the richness of that process of sitting down for a number of hours and working through a text and reading it and sharing it with people, I think is something that I am inspired by, I guess. Yeah.
Where did the idea come from in the first place?
So I was very interested in open source software, which is the idea of people sort of volunteering to work and build better software platforms. But I'm not a technology person. I was more interested in the philosophy that was behind it, the methods, the methodologies, and I was thinking about how this could be applied in other areas of the world. And Wikipedia, I became aware of Wikipedia, and I thought that was a wonderful example of this. And I guess I'd always thought there ought to be, there's a project called Project Gutenberg, that's been around since the beginning of the internet, and it's got a huge collection of public domain texts, and I always thought there ought to be public domain audiobooks as well. So it was just sort of putting those different ideas together, and so that was my introduction to podcasting. And I'm a bit of an audio geek as well. So. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Heidi.
are so many ways to connect with the Book of Life. Fan us at facebook.com/bookoflifepodcast. Follow us at twitter.com/bookoflifepod. Email us at bookoflifepodcast@gmail.com and listen to the latest episode by phone at 916-313-3820. And of course, find links to everything at bookoflifepodcast.com. The Book of Life is a podcast service of the Feldman Library at Congregation B'nai Israel in Boca Raton, Florida at cbiboca.org and is supported in part by the Association of Jewish Libraries at jewishlibraries.org. Our background music is provided by the Freilach Makers Klezmer String Band at freilachmakers.com. Thanks for listening and happy reading.